Could the villainous groups from the main series Pokémon games be considered cults? Every one of these mainline Pokémon games introduces you to a new antagonist or two, whom are usually up to no good, and it is up to you to defeat them in order to progress with your journey. But what exactly are they? Well, first I think it's important to establish what a cult is. There are several dictionary definitions, such as a particular system of religious worship, usually ceremonies, religions, fake, manipulation, charismatic leader, etc. etc. So I'm sure many of you have heard of famous cults, such as the Manson family, People's Temple, or even the cult of wives of Doc Antle brought up in the Netflix documentary Tiger King. But the general characteristics that make up a cult include a charismatic leader, a single unified goal or set of beliefs, which are usually novel or socially defined in nature, a devotion to that leader or cause, often as a result of manipulation, a tendency to differ from public norms, such as often living in a communal area specifically for that cult. So now that we know what a cult is, let's see if any of the 9 mainline villainous schemes show any of these traits. Right, so as you can see, a lot of these groups do fall into several of these categories. So what is perhaps more important to look at is the way to join these groups and the ideals themselves. According to an NPC in Lysander Cafe, it costs 5 million Pokemonies to join Team Flare. So while the goal of creating a beautiful world may seem cultish idea, the monetary requirement makes it a lot less likely, as most cults tend to target vulnerable individuals, not millionaires. While groups such as Skull are mostly made up of the destitute and those who feel like they've been wronged by society, they do have a very close-knit group, with the grunts referring to Plumeria as the big sister, while also mocking outsiders such as Gladion, as he doesn't conform to their close dynamic. However, as revealed by some of their members, Team Skull is composed of misfits who failed the Island Challenge. They steal Pokemon from people, but unlike previous villainous teams, they do not have a specific goal other than to cause trouble and acquire enough money to support themselves. As something similar to Team Skull, you have Team Rocket, who are in it for money and power. They aim to obtain powerful Pokemon in order to take over the world. They engage in cloning and manipulation of Pokemon, proving they are willing to do anything. I think this is more of a commentary on human greed rather than cult-like behaviour, especially when you consider that no one is really devoted to Giovanni. Team Yale are just like a fan club who are willing to use dirty tactics in order to make their idol look good. While Team Magma, their goal is to make an ideal world for human progress. It speaks more of human greed rather than of cult-like behaviours, especially in Omega Ruby when their motivation gets updated to reflect this. Then Team Galactic is just insane, very cult-like with wanting to create a new world with only their followers. But I'm not going to get into this one today. Now, the two I really found interesting is Team Aqua and Team Plasma. These two stand out as groups that want to do the best they can for Pokemon, seemingly willing to cause harm to humanity and infrastructure in order to accomplish this. While the idea of Peter may be running through your head as I say this, these guys are a bit more extreme. While the former was a kind of worship over Kyogre, believing that the world isn't perfect and striving to awaken the godlike creature, the latter really does seem to hit all the boxes of a cult, so let me explain. In the open in a black and white, we see N crowned as king. Team Plasma is clearly an extremist organisation, so this isn't a government-sanctioned ceremony or anything, especially as no one in Unova, aside from the members of Team Plasma, know who he is. So we have an organised group of people who all rally around a leader whom they worship as king, in his quest to essentially bring a halt to the world as we know it due to their beliefs. Right. And on top of that, N isn't even the true leader because Ghetsis has been manipulating him since childhood in order to accomplish his own goal of becoming ruler of the region, because no one else would have Pokemon. But Team Plasma never go after a Pokeball factory like in previous teams. And even if Unova imports their Pokeballs, how would he single-handedly stop new imports once they realise that this was his goal? Either way, this plan is flawed, but I digress. Also, Ghetsis encourages people to join their group through inspiring speeches. What's really interesting about this group is how it splits in black and white too. Those who still strongly believe in the ideals that they had been manipulated into, and those who follow Ghetsis' true goal. The fact that people still follow a naive young man like N shows that these people truly have been indoctrinated into this group and now don't know how to function without it. I could go into all the nuances of how some of these evil teams, especially Team Plasma, are very likely cults, but I think I've given a decent overview of each team and why they probably are or are not a cult. If you think my content isn't awful, do the YouTube stuff. You don't need me to tell me what you do. You're a smarty. Bye.